Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to The Explorer. I hope you all are doing well from wherever you're watching us from around the world, because we are doing absolutely fine. Geopolitics is at the top of the menu at the moment, and Africa is feeling the pressure from north, south, west, and east. But make no mistake, the continent of Africa has come to the point where it has woken up and is asking some questions. South Africa is bearing the brunt at the moment from the United States of America's administration under current President Mr. Donald Trump. It is shameful and disgraceful that the United States of America's foreign policy towards South Africa is laughable if you look at global strategic engagement. Yeah, we don't talk internal issues, we discuss global strategic relationship on how Africa continues to pay the price in a whole lot of areas on this unforgiving partnership. Listen, folks, I see South Africa, a major strategic country in the continent of Africa, very well placed from global perspective, and more importantly, one of the strongest backbone, a landing spot for businesses coming from around the world. South Africa is paying the price, looking at tariffs, looking at the global issues. We're going to dive into it in just a moment. But again, the United States of America administration has singled out South Africa, has led South Africa to believe that what it's doing at the moment, it's wrong. It is shameful. Where can we start? I'm not talking about just this administration. I'm talking about the Joe Biden administration, folks. The United States of America's foreign policy is questionable at the moment. U.S. has lost its soft power across the region because at the moment we've seen why Russia, China, and more importantly, fringe powers across the European Union that you do not agree with in a number of areas, emerging Turkey, and some major players across the Middle East, are beginning to realize that there is an opportunity that needs to be grabbed and not just always problem to be solved. The United States of America's current administration lied that South Africans are killing each other, and that has been debunked over and over in the global media. That was an indication of where this administration was going to. Now you see South Africa coming under tremendous pressure as a result of tariffs and placing South Africans to believe that they are wrong in whatever they are doing. Let's go back to the Joe Biden administration before we come to the current administration under Mr. Donald Trump, which has been very shameful in terms of their strategic relationship. Make no mistake, the continent of Africa is observing the partnership and relationship towards the country of South Africa from the United States of America. If the big boys like South Africa, Nigeria, and the rest can come under tremendous pressure, and some of them are not really ready to cave, then what about small players like Malawi, Lesotho, and the rest? It is embarrassing for the continent of Africa at this moment not to realize that the current administration is a transactional one and is playing games with them, is playing the mind games. Africa, do not bring emotion with regards to this particular relationship. It is a relationship of, I don't give a damn on how we're going to transact, but again, it is a relationship that must be based on individual interest and country-wide perspective. Let's go back to former President Mr. Joe Biden's administration. That administration also pretended to engage the country of South Africa. But when the war in Ukraine between Russia and the country of Ukraine break out, the United States of America showed its proper colors towards the country of South Africa, whether it's from the accusation from Simontown accusing South Africa at the time that they supplied weapons to the country of Russia. And we saw a number of U.S. administration senators who came out clear, and they were complaining that South Africa's relationship with China and Russia should be reviewed. I wonder what particular point these guys call. They have internal issues in the United States of America to be resolved. They only find joy and happiness to basically shatter the dreams of South Africa's own global perspective from a number of areas. I know South Africa does have its own challenges, don't get me wrong, but again, the country continued to move forward. Go back to the Russian-Ukrainian war, looking at what happened at the United Nations voting, and the United States of America was surprised how African countries voted towards that particular resolution. It is still embarrassing that the U.S. does not understand what its implication in terms of its collaboration in the continent of Africa is at this very important time in the continent's own history. Look at what's happening in the Sahel. Look at what's happening in regards to some United States of America strategic partners. Make no mistake, the condensering approach, the paternalistic perspective, the subjugation method that has been used over the years is playing in the minds of the continent of African officials at the moment, and the citizens are watching. So the United States of America's own perspective towards South Africa have been called into question. Make no error in this particular case. So to point out, if you look at what happened then, South Africa, the resolution came out that South Africa should be removed or rebooted out of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which is on life support at the moment. The country of South Africa stood its grounds. There were a number of resolutions called the Malay Russian Act. Any African country that shows some kind of interest or attempt to work alongside or basically even speak good regards to the country of Russia should be punished. That particular resolution did not see the light of day. I'm sure they got some advice on it. It is a shameful perspective regards to why the former administration considers South Africa to be a threat in a number of areas. The Joe Biden administration also went ahead. The ambassador even swore his own life regards to the Simon Town. How embarrassing that was. And you thought that things will work over the years as South Africa continued to build that particular relationship with then administration. But then come the current president, Mr. Donald Trump, who recently started saying things like, South Africa, they're killing each other. He wants to get into your head. I want South Africa not to take this approach or not to engage the United States from an emotional point of view. The country of South Africa should continue to talk to the United States. It's an important market, but to lie that the country's nationals are doing some strange things, like the current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, continues to lie with regards to talking about the genocidal issue in South Africa, which was debunked and shamefully, disgracefully in the White House, and that was exposed by the global media. Again, South Africa continued to come under tremendous pressure. Look at current administration senators talking about how South Africa should be called out, their relationship with the country of Russia, why South Africa should not at this stage. The country of South Africa has been singled out in a number of areas, like I pointed out. Recently, I see South Africans are very concerned that they cannot, to an extent, even live their own life as a result of that the United States of America is watching over them, and that their current defense should not even go to Iran, could not even integrate, cannot even talk. Is that the level that it has come? Is that where South Africa is at the moment? Is that where South Africa is panicking? The country of South Africa is an important economy for the United States of America. Make no mistake, trade is important, but it comes at a time where South Africans are facing the pressure in terms of the current tariff, and the United States of America seems to find pleasure in terms of its behavior towards the country of South Africa. Listen, folks, if you've come to the point as a result of South Africa's position in BRICS, South Africa's engagement with the country of China and Russia, South Africa's decision regards to the global engagement, looking at Israel, looking at the situation in the ICC, in The Hague, then you think that you can silence this African country for them to speak out in a number of areas? The United States is speaking to Russia, is speaking to China, is speaking to India, is talking to a number of countries, and Trump finds kind of a pleasure in terms of its particular mega wins that he's getting from South Africa. I find this very funny from the geostrategic point of view, that a superpower will sit and consider an African country to be like a paw in the pond. They want to move the country back and forth. And I see South Africans are buying into this craziness. They are buying into these lies. They're beginning to believe that their officials cannot even travel. They cannot move around. If you move around, you're going to get South Africa. You're going to get the United States angry. It's just laughable. You don't want your government officials to speak anymore because you are trading with the United States of America. Is that what South Africa has become? Nelson Mandela, the great South African icon, once said that your enemy cannot be our enemy. It's clear The United States of America spoke to the country of Iran, and to an extent, having conversation in a number of areas. But you do not want South Africa to even speak to Russia, to Iran, and to some other countries? How shameful is this relationship gotten to? What are we talking about here? It is important for the country of South Africa to approach this relationship with the United States of America, not from the emotional point of view. I encourage South Africa to continue to engage the United States, but to diversify its relationship. It doesn't matter at this time because nothing's going to change. The United States has fixated itself to punish this African country, irrespective of what option that they will create. The situation of expelling the ambassador from the United States of America was another very low point in this particular relationship. I think the way the ambassador was expelled from the United States, it was just the beginning. We're gonna get a visa for South Africans to move. Don't buy that. All of this was confusion. How does it work now for those guys who ran to the United States of America? How is it going out there? Donald Trump wants to get you guys confused, and when he gets you on the chopping board, then that's the moment where he can negotiate. Remember, this president is a transactional leader. That's what he's good at. He's demonstrated that over his career, and South Africa should not fall into this particular trap. I see South Africans falling into it, and that is where the problem is. You guys have to wake up. The United States is not an honest broker when South Africa is concerned, and you guys must be strategic in terms of the way you engage the United States of America. That doesn't mean you have to lift your guard down. It doesn't mean you cannot visit other officials. It doesn't mean that you cannot interact with other important partners from around the world. The United States of America has embarrassed itself from the geostrategic engagement, not just in the Sahel, not just with Kenya. That's a video for another day. But more importantly, the way they have treated South Africa, it is very shameful when it comes to global strategic relationship. South Africa, the single most strongest economy in the continent of Africa, cannot flex its muscle anymore. South Africans cannot speak. Officials are being warned. Nationals have bought into this Donald Trump shenanigan of very weak threats of, hey, you don't have to do this, you are doing that. And you are shaking, you are panicking. African nations are watching this very closely. And why the continent of Africa at the moment is observing how the United States of America is losing its soft power in the continent of Africa. If Russia, China is not engaged, then nothing is happening. It is shameful that I see the general who recently went to the country of Iran, and South Africans are filming about it. They are crying that the general should not. Why should not? The country of South Africa has tried over and over to bend the knee in a number of areas. The White House visit was an embarrassment, no doubt. Again, they stood their grounds. But the United States of America, under current leader Mr. Donald Trump, has refused to basically find a particular position. Talking about the current 30% tariff, that's nothing to write home about. South Africa has experienced the pushback. Do you think that there are no challenges in South Africa? The trade wars and other things going on at the moment? You think that the current job issues, people are losing their jobs, of course. But again, South Africa has nothing to do. I think the administration, to an extent, is trying to navigate these lies and trying to pit one community against the other as a result of this administration. It is shameful that the United States lack foreign policy engagement with South Africa at the moment, and they are trying to make this African country to be an example of what other nations across the continent of Africa should buy into. South Africa, you've experienced challenges over the years, over the centuries, looking at your history. You must be able to know that the current administration will not be in power forever. You have to fix yourself, continue to engage. The jobs are also very closely tied to your trade with the United States. The U.S. is an important trading partner, but more importantly, you cannot lose your sovereignty as a result of trying to please the United States of America. Donald Trump has singled out the continent for Africa to be a playground for him at this particular time, but I think this is going to backfire. because South Africa, despite the current challenges, should continue to move closer to partners that can provide them alternative. Remember, South Africa does have security challenges, and the country must resolve this issue. Buying into these Donald Trump lies and Donald Trump's own particular fixated mind on foreign policy. Look how he's engaging the country of Russia. He said that I'm going to fix the war in between Russia and Ukraine in 24 hours. South Africa has shown global leadership. When the country led the delegation of African heads of states to Russia and Ukraine, they were called beggars. They were called a lightweight mission. They were called an African delegation. That Africa has so many conflicts, they have not resolved them, and they are coming to look at the European conflict. I think that was the most derogatory aspect in terms of the global strategic engagement. The mainstream media was laughing at South Africa. But again, where are we at the moment? South Africa has said it. There is just no other way to solve this Russian-Ukrainian war, because South Africa showed leadership then, despite being called out as if the crisis was going to damage the continent of Africa as a result of grain issues. But make no mistake, that particular grain conversation affected the global community, as these two countries are major exporters and producers as well. But where are we today? South Africa said this particular conflict will end on the table, whether the United States of America likes it or not. And Mr. Donald Trump is experiencing what it takes to international diplomacy, because this particular issue happening that South Africa won, it's not going to be a transactional conversation. Let me know in the comment section if you think, from Simon Town to the accusation about AGOA taking them out from the trade agreement, letting them know that they are committing some crimes against themselves, trying to manipulate them from the G20 summit, ignoring them, expelling the ambassador, trying to remove them in a number of areas, lambasting them with trade tariffs, and trying to prevent them from speaking out their embarrassment at the White House, and don't allow their officials to even speak and travel anymore. How low the United States of America has gotten in this relationship. South Africa has been the most mature partner in this partnership. We will be looking at how this is going to play out in the global strategic engagement. I want to thank you for watching. Leave me a comment. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.